What's up? This is Chuck D, and thanks for anybody that's watched any of my guitar cover YouTube videos. I see some videos of guitar players in different bands kind of sit down and kind of go through how they got into playing guitar and some of their favorite riffs. And I'm like, yeah, what the heck? Sounds like a kind of a cool video. And one of the cool things about YouTube is, especially if you're a musician, you record stuff and it kind of lasts. So, I guess how I got into guitar, I don't know, I was 13, I got a guitar for my birthday. I really wanted a drum set, but I got a guitar. And I kind of messed around. I learned like a chord or two, and it just kind of collected dust, and it wasn't really my thing. I messed around with it once in a while, and then I was at a friend's house, and he put in this video. He's like, dude, you gotta check this video. It's this band called Megadeth. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Wasn't really into it, and he put it in. It was the video for Hangar 18, and like instantly when Dave Mustaine just pops out, it was just like, nah, nah, nah. I'm like, oh my god. It was like a light bulb went off my head. I'm like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Just like that. It was like instantaneously. Remember going home and just picking up my guitar after I left his house and just like not knowing what the heck I'm doing and just banging on it and just faking it. And that's what I kind of did. I kind of like knew like one, I think I knew the one E chord, just kind of didn't really know what I was doing, just messed around with it. And then I got my first job at a restaurant doing dishes. There was this kind of weird older guy that worked there. He's pretty cool, and he found out I played guitar, and we're talking, and just the next day, he comes in with this stack of books like this big. Magazines, Guitar World, Guitar Player magazines, and it had, I believe it was two of them. He had Master of Puppets Metallica, and the key one was the Kill 'Em All tablature books. And anybody that doesn't know what tablature is, it's basically, it looks like music, piano music. Instead of all the notes, it has the numbers. It shows you, the top E string, fret 1, fret 2, shows you where to put your fingers, 1, 2, 3, all through the neck. So you don't have to know how to read traditional music. So I took that home and I just dove into it. I think the first couple of times I was playing it upside down, looking at it, thinking that the riffs were down here, like down in the bottom, E, and not the top and whatever. And finally, I just, I figured it out, and that's all I did. I went home from school every day or after work, and just mess with it and just grind it. And the first riff that I ever learned, and the way I'm going to play it now is not how I played it back then, believe me. But I did get better pretty quickly. I moved, that's all I did. Nothing. I lived and breathed it. The guitar, that's all I did. But the first riff I ever learned is Am I Evil, the Metallica version of Am I Evil. And I was so freaking proud when I learned it. Something like this. And I remember just playing that riff over and over. My friends would come, dude, check out this riff I freaking learned. And I had some friends that were into music, and I had a friend that kind of had a bass and didn't really know what he was doing and dabble, but they're excited and they're like, oh wow, cool. So I learned that was the very first riff. And also mentioning, somebody that's learning to play guitar that wants to play metal. The Metallica Kill 'Em All tablature book to me is the holy grail of if you want to learn how to teach yourself how to play guitar, because that's where this is kind of going. The first couple of years, that's all I did was learn my chops from reading these books to, figure out what to do on the guitar. And then after a while, I started writing my own music, and I formed my band Reasonable Deception, and that's for all those years I was involved with that, pretty much 15 years. That's pretty much all I did was write music rather than learn it. But in the beginning, it's nowadays you can just go on YouTube and pretty much find any song and they'll have the tablature for it. But the Metallica Kill 'Em All book is awesome because it's got a little bit of everything, and it's not Slayer, it's not crazy complicated. It's stuff that you can teach yourself how to learn. I think one of the next riffs that I learned, I can't remember the order. One that I was really, really excited about was some of the jump in the fire licks. Remember when I learned that, I was like, wow. And you can kind of see too, there's kind of two parts of it, at least my guitar, early days. All these riffs I'm doing now are down picking, where I'm, you know, the riff is, you know, Am I Evil? I'm gonna mess up a little bit too. I'm not used to playing sitting down, it's kind of weird. But it's all, I'm downstroking. You know, all these are chords or single notes. They're all using downstrokes. And then there's the next evolution where I'm doing alternate picking and gallops and stuff, you know. Then when you get into death metal, which there really was no books for, that came later, you know. Stuff I just made up right now. But beginning's all down picking stuff. And another riff that I learned off the Kill 'Em All Metallica, right here. Actually, I don't even remember that part. Some of these I have not played in years, like 10 years. I can't remember last time I played that. Jump in the Fire. And that's a riff that lots of guitar players will tell you, you know, metal guitar players. It's one of the first riffs they learned. And I just learned all the riffs off that book. I think it's 10 songs. I just practiced over and over. And I kind of knew in the beginning, I'm like, you know, like what I said earlier, the thing that really got me into it was seeing Megadeth and Dave Mustaine. I kind of realized right in the beginning, especially the album Rust in Peace, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to play this stuff for a while. And I didn't try to just learn Rust in Peace. I didn't get the Rust in Peace guitar book probably at least a year into my guitar playing. I kind of waited, and I just really worked on that Metallica. That's all I did. I didn't try doing any leads or anything. The one thing I do remember, see if I can remember doing it, is on Am I Evil, the beginning little tap-on solo, I think is something like this. Remember, you know, of course, I started way slow to learn that, and I was so proud that I did it. And it's something I never really even noticed a whole lot until I started recording my videos, doing my videos. One of the coolest things about doing guitar cover videos is actually watching myself play and see how I, you know, do little things that you can't really catch when you're playing. And it's a super useful tool as a guitar player, and I highly suggest it. And I'll throw this in here, is if you're a beginning player and you really, you know, if you have aspirations to be in a band, record yourself, even if you suck. And even if you know, you're going to make mistakes. And it's so cool because when we record, you can see what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And it's something I haven't done. You know, I got into it late in my guitar. I've been doing these videos 4 years. And the only other recordings I ever had were some of our, you know, band practice recordings. And sometimes we played some live shows. And when you're doing a live show, you know, the camera's moving everywhere. And it's always a case of like, there's a part I was doing I wanted to see, but the camera would move over. But doing the videos, you know, I can really, you know, watch, you know, myself play. And really, the picking is the, you know, I see little things that I do that I never noticed before. And like with the tapping, like Eddie Van Halen, and I don't know, I think he holds a pick like this when he taps, and he uses his pointer finger. Me, I go like this, and I actually use both. I can use both these fingers. So we'll do something like this. But mainly, I use my second finger here. And because when you're doing a tapping part, and if you're going to a rhythm, you have to be able to go like this. And then switch to. Anyways, that little tap on part was probably the first lead solo thing I ever tried to even learn. So after the Kill 'Em All, I went to the Master of Puppets book, and of course, probably the holy grail of more advanced riffs is the kind of main Master of Puppets riff that took me forever to figure out, and just practice and practice it. And still to this day, it's a hard freaking riff to do, and pretty much everybody's heard it, but. Whoops, fucked it up. So weird sitting down. That riff is definitely, if you're getting into, metal and you want to be a guitar player, mastering that riff is vital. Nowadays, pretty much everybody, a lot of the kids play it with alternate picking. I still to this day can't play that riff alternate. I do it exactly how James Hetfield does it with the downstrokes. And I kind of was, really huge into downstroke, and I still am. As I've gotten older, some of the things that I used to downstroke, I will alternate pick because it's more correct to do it that way on certain things. That particular riff, I just think it sounds heavier with downstrokes. That's pretty much it. I think that's the only riff I still remember from the Master of Puppets album. I went through that and I learned all of the riffs through that back in the day. I think maybe... Ryan. So I went through those, and then I got the next evolution. I got Slayer, a couple Slayer books. I think I got Show No Mercy, but the big one was Seasons in the Abyss, and that was another video. I went to my friend's house and I saw the song Seasons in the Abyss. I'm like, holy crap, Slayer! I'd heard about them and couldn't wait to. I went and bought the CD a couple days later and jammed it out. And then I got the book. I ordered the book and I got the guitar book. And that was kind of my next step. And the actual riff for Seasons in the Abyss is a great riff for somebody learning how to play guitar. And again, it's all in downstrokes, and it's something like this. And I think I kind of learned that. I was learning stuff by ear. I actually learned it by ear before I got the book, and I was pretty close. I was off a little bit. That's a great riff. But the song on that album that really blew me away the most was the first song, War Ensemble. And I remember they did have a video for that. It was like a live footage video. It was like so freaking sick to see Slayer. And at the time, it was, so brutal and so heavy. It was before I got into death metal. It was right before I got into like Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel and stuff. And that was when I really taught myself how to do alternate picking and speed picking, tremolo picking, was from the Seasons in the Abyss. And see if I can remember the first riff. It's still pretty tricky for a War Ensemble. And then the next riff was the tricky, super tricky riff, especially for me at the time, that really, learning that riff, once I learned that riff, it's like riding a bicycle. It's like, holy cow, I can do this. And that's the extreme tremolo picking part, and it goes like this. And of course, when I first started, that took a long time, and I fudged it. But I started slow and moved along, and I finally got that riff. And there's one other riff that kind of in the middle, the riff that I was really most obsessed with that I saw was so heavy. In the middle of the song, they're like, I think the first Jeff Hanneman solo, and then there's like this drum, the guitar's going, this drum, and this riff right here, if I can remember it. I remember just crunching on that forever. When I finally learned it, I was so freaking proud. That's another album, it's to me that's definitely, I think that's Slayer's masterpiece. Their songwriting, and Slayer gets some slack about their guitar solos, and I have to agree. Some of their albums, some of the solos you can kind of do without. But that album, the solos are really good, really thoughtful, and some of them are extremely tricky to play. And Slayer's use of the whammy bar, it's a lot harder than it sounds. It's some tricky stuff, and some of the solos in that album are really good. The songwriting in that whole album is quite masterful. I think it's their greatest album ever. And I remember just looking at that book and just learning, every single riff I could on that, and also, I was also, to me, there's kind of a dichotomy. I love death metal, and that's what my band was, and that's what I play. But also, I'm an Iron Maiden junkie. I love harmonies. I love that style of play. And Adrian Smith, he's my idol. He is my favorite guitar player of all time. His solo style is my favorite. I think he's the greatest soloist of all time. That's just me. And I'm not talking about technical, Steve Vai precision and doing crazy stuff. Just from beginning to end, you look at his library of guitar solos, there's nobody that even can come close to touching him. That's just me and my personal style. There's lots of Adrian Smith in there. The way he bends. I love that style of guitar playing. And of course there's the fast stuff, but he's my hero. In Iron Maiden, probably one of the first riffs I learned was Wrathchild. See if I can get this right. Like I said, a lot of these I've not played in a long time. There's another thing I like to mention about, if you want to they ask some questions about how I do my videos and this and that. And to me, I learn the songs, and I figure out all the guitar parts, and I, sit down with the music, play it through here, and go with my amp and do them. And I can tell you, some of the songs, practicing them, some songs I learn in 10 minutes, hit record, and boom, I just nail them. Some songs take, hours, spread through weeks sometimes, depending on how hard they are. And, once I get the song kind of down, I'll spend some time, depending, and just practice along. And one thing you don't quite get the gist of, it's a lot louder in here than it is kind of through the videos, because I have the volume down when I actually record. And you really feel like you're in the band. And doing the practice, I'm just, boom, autopilot sometimes, and it's jamming. There's kind of two modes for me. I'm on autopilot where I can just move. I don't have to look, I just got it. And sometimes I'm just like, for dear life, making sure I don't mess up. The second and I've been playing guitar for over 30 years, almost 15 years of playing on stage, doing these videos, over 125 videos. Every single time when I hit that record button, nervous. A healthy nervousness comes over, because I know I'm being recorded, and if I mess up, some songs, and it's kind of funny, sometimes the easy songs, I'll get almost to the end, mess up, boom, have to do another take. It can take 8, 9 takes. Sometimes it's the first take. But if you're just starting to play guitar, it's so effective, because it gives you that nervousness that you can't it's not playing live on a stage, but there's nothing like that. And I think it's a tool that will help you. You can see your guitar playing and learn from your playing, especially your picking, and you can also, it gives you that feeling of nervousness that you're going to get if you're playing in a band live. It's like you're practicing in your garage and everything's so tight, and then when you get on stage, holy crap, I hope I don't mess up. And you get that, recording, doing the videos. And anyways, that's just a little insight, some of the riffs that I find useful, and kind of taught me how to play. And the last thing I guess I'll go into, this is the very first riff I ever wrote for Reasonable Deception, for a song called Nightmare Kitchen, which kind of was mainly probably our most popular song, and it goes something like this. And once I wrote that riff, that was probably about 3 years into my playing. I wrote that. Once I wrote that riff, I had a little recorder, little keyboard with a fake drum machine, and I recorded in a little tape deck. And once I wrote that riff and played it along, that's when I kind of like, it was before I had the band, but I was writing songs that would eventually, riffs that would eventually be in Reasonable Deception. It all kind of started from that Metallica book. That book really got my chops. Taught me, my picking style and moving to Slayer. And then eventually I did get the Megadeth Rust in Peace book, and just chomped on that. Holy Wars and Hangar 18, and that's at that time I was starting to delve into a little bit more guitar solos. And anyways, we'll leave it at that, and everyone have a nice day.